Let's do it. What we yapping about today? Today we're gonna talk about the evolution, the evolution of the internet. For me, I was introduced to the internet maybe when I start I started messing around with the internet maybe when I was like maybe 12, maybe younger. Um the first Some of the first encounters I had with the internet was like the Nextel cell phones, um the flip phones, like the Razor flip phones. I don't know if you guys familiar with the US cellular. It was a phone called a US cellular, and that was kind of like one of my first phones too. And yeah, so the reason I mentioned those phones because the reason I mentioned those phones because I can remember me back when I was young. I was young. Hmm. I want to say I was young every bit maybe like 11, 12, somewhere in that median. Yeah, so the reason I mentioned the flip phones because I remember I used to have to punch in the the website. You know, if you had flip phones, you remember you had to you know, physically punch in wherever you wanted to go. I remember whatever website you wanted, you wanted to search, you had to like, really physically punch it in. So that for me, that's like some of my first memories of the internet. So for me, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. The flip phone, the US cellular, um, minutes. I don't know if you guys familiar with minutes, but back in the day, we used to pay for minutes. You go to um your nearest phone place that's in your neighborhood, wherever it's at. You go to your nearest phone place and you load up on your minutes. Some people go to Walmart, get the phone cards. Um, Me, I did the minutes. I feel like it was so far back. Um, I definitely did the minutes with the Nextel. I want to say, and I think I did the minutes. I think the US cellular was minutes too. I think that was minutes too. Yeah, that was a moment. That was a moment back then. The minutes, the flip phones. You had to physically punch in the website. Also, I wanted to kind of speak on the social media, the some of the first social media websites I encountered. Some of the first social media websites that um I kind of flirted with in a way. The first one is Mako Space. I don't know if you guys familiar with Mako Space, but Mako Space was a place where it was a bunch of people socializing, and you can upload pictures, you can talk to people or whatnot. And yeah, it was a pretty cool environment. It wasn't weird. It wasn't for me. I felt like Mako Space was a pretty cool place for people to come and socialize. I had a pretty good experience on Mako Space. Also, it was MySpace. It was MySpace back then. Um, some of the first social media outlets I personally encountered. And I I I I feel like back then, back then it was more so about girls when it comes to the internet. Like it was more so about girls, and it was more so about like vibing and fun and networking. Um, I feel like back then the internet was more exclusive. You know what I'm saying? It was more exclusive. Um, a lot of people, didn't have access to it. I feel like back then it was really like it wasn't no internet. Back when it wasn't no internet, you feel what I'm saying? Like we used to sneak and watch our favorite shows. Like you would never have that feeling again for real. You see what I'm saying? Like the feeling of sneaking and watching your favorite show at night, your parents, sleep or whatever, and the Three Stooges come on, or you want to watch that BT Uncut, you know what I'm saying? Like moments like that is priceless, you know what I'm saying? You never can get those moments back. Um, so yeah, the first key point was more so like the beginning of the internet. And for me, the beginning of the internet was like my flip phone. The computer still was fat in the back. You know what I'm saying? The computer still was fat in the back. They just came around like to the computer's flat joints. You know what I'm saying? So back then, yeah, the beginning was the flip phones. You know what I'm saying? You had to, you know what I'm saying, back when you start figuring, you know what I'm saying? Because me, I was one of those kids, I really, now I'm able to put my finger on like, okay, you was one of those kids. You was intuitive. Like, you wanted to know stuff. You feel what I'm saying? So back then, yeah, I was the type to punch in the website. You feel what I'm saying? I can't really remember exactly what websites I was on, but it probably was like a YouTube, you know what I'm saying? Something to watch a music video or something like that, just to get me through the day or something like that. But yeah, so back it was the flip phones. It was for me, it was the flip phones, the punching in the website. It was the uh Mako space, the MySpace. Um, it was more about, girls. You see what I'm saying? It was more about girls and networking and having fun. And it was more exclusive. You dig what I'm saying? You guys got to follow me. It was more exclusive. Now it's kind of watered down. Like I say, I miss those moments, those times when you got to sneak on the phone. You know what I'm saying? Late night, talk to your first girlfriend. You feel what I'm saying? Like, damn, no, we need to go back to those moments. You feel what I'm saying? Like, those are real moments. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, man. So boom, yeah, it was more exclusive. Go to the internet on social media on different platforms, and you scout for a pretty girl. You network. You know what I'm saying? Back then, it wasn't as sketchy as it is now. Now 2026, it's like thousands or millions of different social platforms, and that's crazy because it's kind of like opposite now. At first, it was fun, it was cool because it was new, nobody really knew about it. and it was exclusive, you know what I'm saying? Now it's watered down and everybody is on it, to the point where they not even able to live life for real. Like it ain't no more skating, you know what I'm saying? It ain't no more tag, catch a girl, get a girl. Ain't no more of that shit. That shit over with. You see what I'm saying? That shit crazy.